Okay, let's dive into this. Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going on a journey that is frankly unlike any other. We're going to experience the vast, breathtaking landscape of Tibet, but we're not just going as tourists. Instead, we're going to look at this remarkable region through the immersive, historical lens of an ancient tea caravan traveler. I want you to imagine yourself centuries ago, trekking through thin air and completely isolated valleys, carrying goods, culture, and deep spiritual beliefs right across the roof of the world.
So, picture this. Our journey as a caravan traveler actually kicks off with a pretty incredible display of human devotion. As we enter the Kham region, we hit the Markham salt pans. Now, these are absolutely stunning terrace layers that were carved into red rock cliffs over 1,300 years ago. But working these salt fields wasn't, and honestly still isn't, just your standard physical job. It's a deeply spiritual inheritance. The local families who manage these pans by hand genuinely believe the labor itself is karmic. The salt comes from a sacred hot spring, and before every single season, families hold rituals just to honor this profound connection between the earth and their own ancestry.
To truly understand the path we're walking today, we really have to grasp the vast sweep of time that shaped it. Let's put this into perspective. 50 million years ago, the Indian subcontinent violently slammed into Eurasia, literally thrusting up the highest highland on Earth. By the 7th century, the Tibetan script was born to translate sacred texts, which gave the region its cultural voice. Fast forward to 1,300 years ago, and we get the construction of those Markham salt pans we just talked about. And today, well, those ancient caravan trade paths we're tracking have evolved into National Highway 318. It's a massive 5,000-kilometer route that modern travelers and pilgrims still walk as a deep act of devotion.
All right, Stage 1, the ancient caravan route, exploring the historic Tea Horse Road. Historically, this is exactly where caravans carried precious Pulyar tea all the way from Yunnan, crossing brutal mountain passes to reach Lhasa. And it wasn't just tea in their packs. They were carrying the very culture and belief systems that would totally shape Tibet's evolution.
Now, navigating this route? Definitely not for the faint of heart. Imagine having to descend the terrifying Nujiang 72 turns. We are talking about 72 hairpin bends cut into a near-vertical cliff with a staggering 1,000-meter drop. The mist rolls in, guardrails are practically non-existent in some sections, and the stakes are literally life or death. Once used by military convoys and our ancient tea caravans, making this dangerous descent today is seen by many as this supreme test of courage and a grueling, intensely physical path to cleanse one's karma.
Surviving those high passes brings us to Section 2, Ecological Fusion. This area is widely known as the Switzerland of Tibet. Our caravan now winds its way down into something entirely unexpected, a place that's incredibly lush and vibrant.
And this brilliantly illustrates one of the most magnificent contrasts on the planet. I mean, think about it. On one side, you've got these harsh alpine ridges with freezing winds and permafrost. But then, on the other side, nestled directly beneath those snow-capped giants, boom, you've got subtropical rainforests bursting with dense moisture and these really delicate, vibrant peach blossoms. It is a rare ecological fusion that you will literally find nowhere else on the entire Tibetan plateau.
So, how is this lushness even possible? It's all thanks to the sheer, unfathomable scale of the Yarlung Tsangpo Grand Canyon. Get this, it plunges an astonishing 5,300 meters deep. That is way deeper than the Grand Canyon in the United States. Right here, the mighty Himalayas violently tumble into an uncharted rainforest, creating this dramatic rift that pulls in massive amounts of rainfall straight from the Indian monsoon.
As we climb out of that canyon and head up to the Sachila Pass, the material and spiritual worlds really start to blur together. The route is completely lined with vividly colored prayer flags, just fluttering in the wind, and every single color is an offering to unseen forces. Blue for the sky, white for air, red for fire, green for water, and yellow for earth. For our caravan, they act as this beautiful, constant reminder that the landscape itself is a sacred threshold between the physical world we know and the spiritual realm.
Leaving those dense forests behind, we push into Section 3, Sacred Peaks and Lakes. This is an area truly defined by high-altitude devotion. Out here in the desolate regions of Ali and Nagal, the air thins out, the silence deepens, and the extreme geography basically strips away all worldly distractions.
But before we move too far west, we've got to look back at the towering sentinel we just passed, Namcha Barwa. Standing at a massive 7,782 meters, it's a totally elusive giant. Locals affectionately call it the Shy Mountain.
Why? Because it's almost perpetually veiled in clouds. In Tibetan tradition, it's highly revered as a male deity guarding a hidden land of spiritual awakening, and people heavily believe that only travelers who possess purely good karma will ever be granted a clear, unobstructed glimpse of its summit. As our caravan moves deeper west into the Ali region, we stumble upon the eerie, otherworldly Zanda earth forest. Honestly, it's like a surreal labyrinth of jagged mudstone spires, all shaped by wind and tectonic time. And hidden right inside this maze of rock are the ruins of the Guge Kingdom. You can still see crumbling staircases and cave temples with ancient murals that are somehow still vivid today. It really makes you stop and wonder, how could a mighty kingdom, built so strongly on devotion and belief, just vanish into the wind, leaving nothing but stone behind? So, the crucial point is how this incredible landscape perfectly reflects local cosmology. You see, Tibetan belief views the world as a very delicate balance. On one hand, you have the masculine presence, which is represented by these fierce, towering mountain guardians like Mount Kailash and Nyenchen Tongla. And then, balancing them out, you have the feminine element, the vast, sacred, and karmic cleansing waters of lakes like Namso and Manasaravar. The earth itself is seen as a perfect, living harmony of mountain and water, of earth and spirit.
And that harmony draws us right into Section 4, the Ritual of Kora, Walking the Sacred Path. Let's look at the really profound devotion surrounding Mount Kailash. It's a towering 6,638-meter peak that is completely unclimbed. Not because it's physically impossible, but because setting foot on it is considered a major violation of the sacred. Buddhists, Hindus, Jains, and Bon followers all view this single peak as the absolute center of the universe.
So instead of climbing to the top, pilgrims perform the Kora. Basically, this is a grueling 52-kilometer walk just around the mountain's base. Pilgrims will continually spin handheld prayer wheels, releasing mantras straight into the freezing wind. And some go even further than that, performing full-body prostrations for the entire 52 kilometers. They are literally measuring the meaning of their journey with their own bodies, turning pure physical endurance into profound inner stillness.
And the devotion certainly doesn't end with just one circle. It's widely believed that completing the Kora 108 times will bring a pilgrim closer to true enlightenment. 108 is a highly sacred number of spiritual completion in Tibetan tradition. We actually see this number reflected in the landscape again a bit later, in the 108 dizzying hairpin bends travelers have to navigate just to reach the Everest region. Now, what's really interesting about this is that the sheer scale of this region is just staggering. Navigating those 108 bends drops us right at Rongbuk Base Camp, standing at over 5,000 meters. Out here, you are completely dwarfed by Chomolungma, the goddess mother of the world, widely known to most of us as Mount Everest. Rising over 8,800 meters, her unshakable, immense presence just totally dominates the horizon. It makes any traveler feel utterly insignificant, yet somehow deeply connected to something way greater. All right, our ancient caravan journey is finally nearing its end in Section 5, the Fortress of Faith, entering the heart of Tibet. We have arrived in Lhasa. It's known as the place of the gods, and it's the historical, political, and spiritual heart of the entire region. The second you enter Lhasa, you're immediately swept right into the Barkor Circuit. It is, quite literally, a living river of devotion. Pilgrims who have traveled from the furthest edges of the plateau are out here circling the 7th century Jokhang Temple, spinning prayer wheels while thick incense drifts through the air, all at 3,650 meters above sea level. Inside lies the Jowa Shakyamuni, which is Tibet's most sacred statue. For so many people, just getting a single glimpse of its golden gaze is the culmination of an entire lifetime of prayer. And of course, dominating the skyline above all of this is the iconic Potala Palace. Now, its architecture actually evolved pretty dramatically over different eras. It began as a fairly modest 7th century fortress built by Emperor Songtsen Gampo, before expanding centuries later into the monumental 13-story complex we see standing today. It's beautifully divided by function, too. The White Palace served as the seat of temporal power and administration, while the Red Palace housed incredible spiritual power, holding sacred scriptures and the gold-adorned stupas of past lamas. It's really the ultimate convergence of governance and deep faith, seamlessly united under one monumental roof. So from the ancient salt pans of Kham, through the deep, lush canyons of Ningchi, around the sacred Kora of Kailash, and finally here, to the steps of the Potala Palace, our caravan's journey reveals a landscape built entirely on belief. Which really leaves us with this final thought to ponder. In a world that just moves endlessly forward, constantly chasing the next new thing,
What can we learn from a place that stands perfectly still? Because up here, in the high thin air of Tibet, tradition doesn't just fade away. It quietly, faithfully, and powerfully endures. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible journey.